how you doing? Steve here from emulation.com. So I'm starting this little series of videos called Plugins You Can't Mix Without. And I thought I'd start with Slate Digital VCC because, well, really is one of those plugins that I can't mix without at least. So in case you're unfamiliar with what VCC is, it stands for Virtual Console Collection. So a collection of 5 classic consoles that you can emulate the sound of in the box. Okay, the 5 consoles we have emulated is the Brit 4K, which is an SSL. The USA here is an API console. The Brit M is a Neve console. Our little Greek symbol here is a Trident console. And RC Tube here is a classic 50s tube console. So the general practice with VCC is you put the virtual channel here on every channel in your track, and the virtual mix bus, you put one instance on your mix bus. And then you group them all together so that when I click on bypass here, it knocks off VCC on every single instance in my mix, and when I turn it back on, obviously it is processing. So I think it's about time we had a listen to the track. Okay, the song I'm working with here is called Fall For You. The track, it was done as a collaboration on emulation.com, so we uploaded all of our files to the site, and then I've downloaded all the session files so that I can do the mix here on my machine in my little studio. And just wanted to say thanks to the guys for allowing me to use this track, so Stevie Hudson, Alan Earls, Danny Murphy, thanks guys. Right, we'll start with VCC in bypass so you can hear what the track sounds like without VCC processing, and then the next time we'll flick it on and flick it off on each of the consoles. Okay, let's have a listen. I fall for you. Okay, well the mix doesn't sound too bad, but let's skip on straight away. Let's turn it on and let's see how VCC enhances the mix. Now, what I might do to really help you hear what VCC is doing is I might grab the group drive here and boost it up to 6 dB. It's not really the best practice, to be honest with you, but for this demo, I think it'll help for you to hear the characteristics of what VCC does to the mix. Okay, let's stick with the SSL for now, and we'll start it in bypass mode. And then I'll turn it on and turn it off in time with the beat, hopefully. And let's see what it sounds like. Okay. I fall for you. Okay, well the first thing I hear as soon as I flick that switch is the guitars. They come out of the track a little bit more. They get this extra depth. So the bottom end seems to extend but tightens up at the same time. But also the top end of it seems to have this extra bit of clarity there. So the guitars almost sound like they're louder. And as a result of that, the vocals are sitting right back into the mix now. It's no longer kind of poking through. So it's gluing everything together. But not only that, listen to where the kick drum and the bass are meeting. That whole lower end just gets tighter. It sounds a bit more defined. Difficult to describe. Have a listen again. Have a listen to the guitars get wider in the mix and listen to how the kick and the bass change. I fall for you. Quite difficult to describe what's going on in that lower range. But look, I'll leave it to you guys to have a listen and you can make your mind up yourselves whether you think it sounds better with VCC on or whether you think it sounds worse. Alright, moving on, we'll go on to the API console. Again, same drill, we'll turn it on and turn it off and we can compare what it sounds like in comparison to the SSL. Here we go. I fall for you. Right, the API, as soon as you turn it on there, I think the most apparent thing you're hearing in the mix is the effect it has on the drums. So the top end of those hi-hats almost lifts. It sounds a bit more open in the top range, and the snare then has this extra crack to it in the top range. What else? I think the vocals are being affected as well. The vocals seem to have this little bit of clarity. That Stevie's diction is fantastic in this track, but also it just lends to opening it up and cleaning up that bottom range. Because as well, the bottom range is a little tighter with the API processing here. Similar effect to the SSL, but in a different way. Have a listen again. Have a listen to the hi-hats, have a listen to the snare, and have a listen to that openness that comes with the API. Okay, here we go.
I fall for you. Over and over, got nothing to lose. I fall for you. Just give me a reason to start over new. I fall for you.
Okay, I really love what that API is doing to the snare. It's a lovely sound. Okay, let's move straight on onto the Brit M. Start in bypass mode, and we'll turn it on and off as we do. Here we go.
I fall for you. Over and over, got nothing to lose. I fall for you. Just give me a reason to start over new. I fall for you.
Okay, with Brit M, it isn't a subtle effect at all. As soon as you turn it on, the bass seems to just extend. It lifts up. It's almost like I turned up the bass, but in a different way. You don't get that by just turning up the bass. It really enhances that lower range. In fact, if I was mixing with this, I'd probably turn that bass down. But anyway, for now, we'll just leave things as they are. But also the guitars. The bottom end of the guitar seems to just widen out a little. The drums are getting punchier. The kick drum really starts to pound. Have a listen again. Have a listen to the bass. Have a listen to the drums. Here we go.
I fall for you. Over and over, got nothing to lose. I fall for you. Just give me a reason to start over new. I fall for you.
It's really interesting what the Neve here is doing to our drums in this track. You know, let's put it onto solo for a minute. Let's start with it in bypass and I'll turn it on and off as it did. But you'll be able to hear the extra punch that VCC is giving to our drums. All right, here we go. Alright, well if you're hearing what I'm hearing, as soon as I knock on VCC, kick is punchier, the snare is punchier, and there's a lot of reverb on the drums in this track, and it's doing something to that reverb too. Alright, well, let's put it all back the way it was, and we'll go to the Trident console now. And we'll start in bypass, and we'll do it as we've been doing it. Okay, here we go.
I fall for you. Over and over, got nothing to lose. I fall for you. Just give me a reason to start over new. I fall for you.
Okay, well the first thing is obviously the snare. As soon as you turn on the Trident here, that snare, it jumps out of the mix a little bit. The top end of it has this extra crack, but it's not in a harsh way. It's a really nice way of enhancing that snare. Also enhances the bottom range as well and widens everything with guitars as with the other consoles. But the least obvious one, I think, but really works on the Trident is the synth. It's panning, it's modulating already, but the Trident here seems to exaggerate that in a really nice way. So listen to the synth, see if you can pick out the width, and listen to that snare. Here we go.
I fall for you.
hope you're hearing what I'm hearing. Each of these consoles is putting a different stamp onto the song. It's, there's a different characteristic that comes about with each one of them, and I think it's one of the great things about VCC. Not only does it kind of enhance your track in one way, you've also got these different flavors to play with, so it's cool. Okay, let's move on to RC Tube. Let's see what that sounds like.
I'd fall for you. Over and over, got nothing to lose. I'd fall for you.
Okay, we don't need to listen to the whole chorus to hear what's happening there. It's distorting quite badly. I'm certainly overcooking the drive here on RC Tube. But let me put on the drums here in solo, and you'll be able to hear exactly the distortion that happens with the RC Tube here on our kick drum in particular. So have a listen to it. It's not necessarily a bad sounding distortion. It could actually be used to effect if you needed to. So let's just have a listen to it, and then you'll hear it straight away. Okay, interesting sound. But I haven't used a classic 50s console, to be honest with you, so I can't compare it in real life to what one might sound like. But anyways, listen, I'm going to turn down the group drive here while the drums are on solo and see if I can just bring it up a bit to get an acceptable level of distortion, and let's see what it sounds like. Okay. Okay, that's probably enough. We're keeping the charm of RC Tube, but we're still getting a little bit of that distortion. Let's just see what it sounds like with the entire track. So I'll turn the drums off solo, and we'll put the whole thing on again, starting a bypass, and oh.
I'd fall for you. Over and over, got nothing to lose. I'd fall for you. Just give me a reason to start over new. I'd fall for you.
Right, so RC Tube here seems to be acting more like almost like a compressor. It seems to be squishing things down a little bit. It's also warming it up. There's a little bit of distortion there too, so it's giving it a vibe, giving it a new little flavor. Not quite as obvious as some of the other ones, some of the other consoles there, but yeah, it certainly has its place. Probably wouldn't use it for this mix, but sure, there you go. Okay, well, I think I've gone through everything. We've looked at all of the consoles, we've compared them to the mix without VCC, and hopefully now you've been able to pick out which one you thought was your favorite. And by all means, tell me which one you think was the one that worked best in this mix. Drop a comment below, and we'll chat about it there. All right, before I play it out, I'm just going to set this to 1.4, put it back onto the SSL console, and you can listen to the rest of the track. And what I'll do is I'll put all of the mix files up onto emulation.com, so by all means go there. They'll be in full WAV quality and 44.1 24-bit. Download them and import them into a session, and you can A/B them yourself if you want to, and just to see exactly what VCC sounds like. Okay, thanks so much for watching. We'll be putting more of these things online very, very soon, and please send me requests if you want a particular review done of a particular product. Take care.
Angel from heaven, you light up the darkest night, but all I have to remember is every